Just go with the flow, baby. That's the dandy way. That and boobies. Boobies are the way of life. Space Dandy is a 2014 comedic science fiction anime directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, who I've mentioned countless times before, and Shingo Natsume, as well as many other directors and also writers, which I'll get into later, and was animated by Studio Bones. The anime follows the misadventures of Dandy, an alien bounty hunter who is a dandy guy in space, in search of undiscovered and rare aliens with his robot assistant QT and his feline-like friend named Meow. Other main characters that join the crew occasionally is Honey, a waitress at Dandy's favorite restaurant Boobies, and Scarlet, a worker at the Alien Registration Center. Though he and his crew act with the best intentions, despite being normally dim-witted and next to useless, Dandy is unaware that he's being pursued by Dr. Gel and B of the Gogol Empire. The series has loose continuity, with several episodes featuring the main protagonist and antagonist dying, getting turned into zombies, or getting trapped in different dimensions for a period of time, only for them to show up as normal in the next episode. And somehow this anime is one of the smartest shows out there.
I found myself a nurse and the boots are big and bouncy. They go boing, 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 and I feel it in my naughty bits.
No, really.
Dandy plowed into him from behind at the 7th space velocity.
No, really.
And thus, the heroic battle for tomorrow began between man and paper calendar.
No, really.
I love boobs.
Ew, I don't want to hear my dad talking like that!
No, really.
Ah! When you get home, you need to smack your parents.
No. Really.
You're not the greatest because I am the greatest. No, we're both great. Okay, wow!
Before we truly get started, I will mention that early this year, I did talk about Space Dandy heavily in my 3-part video series looking at Shinichiro Watanabe anime, so I'll try to avoid repeating myself on various points. So you can check out that video for anything that I don't want to repeat in this video. You'll hear this mentioned a lot throughout my top 10 anime project, but Studio Bones is my favorite Japanese anime studio, bringing us great works like My Hero Academia, Wolf's Rain, Bungo Stray Dogs, Soul Eater, Mob Psycho 100, Noragami, Karen Tuesday, and so many more, as well as 3 other anime that you might see later down this list. And how could you not like them? Most of the time, they are known as the best animation studio for cool and awesome animation. If you need a big, gigantic scene with lots of action and chaos, you call in Studio Bones. Something about the line layout, something about the fluidity of the animation, and just something about how damn cool it looks most of the time. Studio Bones is one of those rare studios working in the anime industry that cares more about quality than quantity, where they pay their animators based on the quality of their work, not just how many rush cells they can finish in a day. You can always tell that each frame of animation is created with such love and passion from all involved. And this anime is surprisingly full of passion. Help that it's like a tribute to the great directors and writers currently working in anime, which, again, I talked about before in that video series I mentioned at the beginning. But because of this passion, certain episodes have a unique animation style depending on the director and the tone of the episode. For example, one episode could exhibit a minimalistic tone that has the animation be mostly in black and white. An episode directed by Masaki Yusa will have such chaotic and messy animation, but it still feels controlled. An episode directed by Kiyotaka Ushiyama will have a lot of his great detailed line work, making the sea in this episode look really fucking good. An episode about plants is literally like Dandy got high, and the crazy animation reflects that. An episode about Dandy on trial for murder will feature a lot of gray with moody shadows and muted colors. And so on and so on. In the end, with Studio Bones, you can't go wrong. Their works are always colorful, action-packed, full of fluid animation, and is just a blast to watch. And Space Dandy is no exception. I also find myself getting more and more into the music each time I rewatch the anime. It features a lot of techno-punk and disco music. Sometimes either the background music or insert songs give the anime even more of an alien and outer space feel than it already has. And that's mostly because a lot of aspects of Space Dandy are inspired by 80s media. From the tropes that they play with to the things they spoof, but especially to the music. The music helps Space Dandy feel very 1980s, and in the best ways. But of course, I can't talk about the music in Space Dandy without mentioning the 2 episodes with characters sing. And it is fantastic. While the 20th episode does feature a nice song sung and played by Dandy, his crew, and new character Johnny, episode 17 is what I want to talk about the most.
where Dandy infiltrates a high school to capture a rare alien only to realize that it's a school like fucking High School Musical, where the quality of your singing and dancing determines your placement in the school's pecking order. And while the first song is, it's alright, it does the job, it's whatever, the second song, meanwhile, is a fucking showstopper. Watching it live for the first time was unbelievable. I couldn't handle the incredibleness that was happening in front of me. It's just like the final song in a Broadway musical, where all the characters come together and sing their fucking hearts out. It brought a smile to my face, and I listened to it all the time.
And something that helped bring a smile to my face while watching the musical number was that these are some hella enjoyable characters. While characters like Dandy himself do take some time to warm up to, all the characters are lovable idiots. And what I love the most about them is how one note they can seem at first, but as the anime goes on, we learn that they each have a layer of complexity that makes them fascinating to watch.
Well, Danny just seems like a lazy guy. He's much more intelligent than he lets on, mostly because he's someone who just likes to go with the flow. And if that flow will bring him the boobies or cause his death, no matter what sort of life he's in, alive or dead, he'll always be pretty dandy. QT just seems like a helper robot who is there to just keep Dandy in line, but you later learn how funny and sarcastic he is. And it's heartwarming when he learns new things, like when he discovered fishing or when he fell in love with a coffee maker. Meow seems like a lazy, good-for-nothing cat-like creature who can't do anything right, but when you learn about his past, you learn that he's just a young man trying to make a name for himself, trying to be different than what's expected of him from his family. Honey seems like a hot, dumb blonde that is only about showing off her body, but you learn that she might be the most intelligent character of the entire series. Hell, I like to believe that Honey works at Boobies to help pay off her student loans at Space Harvard or something. Scarlet at first seems like a no-nonsense woman who kicks all of the ass. You learn how sensitive and fragile she can be, and that maybe she harbors some feelings for Dandy, though she'd never admit it. Hell, the same can be said too for our two main antagonists, Dr. Gel and Bee. Dr. Gel may seem like just a stone-cold, intelligent Planet of the Apes reference and is only ever after Dandy. You realize how soft and sentimental he can be, like how he misses his mother or how nice he is to Honey when he and Bee kidnap her. Bee seems at the start like a whiny assistant who is just a yes man, but you slowly learn that he has more things under control than even Dr. Gel, like when he took better control of a fleet of battleships while Dr. Gel was having an episode.
Complex characters arise when you take characters that are perceived as one thing, you reveal something new about them that changes how they are perceived, but still connects to who they were when they were first shown. The main characters in Space Dandy may look one-dimensional, but looks can be deceiving, as these idiots are pretty complex. But these main protagonists and antagonists aren't all that there is to enjoy, because the one-off aliens that we meet are very entertaining.
Ramen Alien has an overly dramatic and yet somehow hilarious backstory. Adeli is a great companion to Dandy, and who could forget the Undies and the Vestinians? It was nice to see Meow's family and the Chameleonian took our characters through an existential crisis. It was interesting to see all the different versions of our main characters in the different dimensions. The masked puppet is terrifying in its design and its power to freeze things forever. The elegant alien Gentle is pompous, while the rock and roll player Johnny is a great friend to Dandy. The aliens that we meet on planet Limbo have some of my favorite designs, and the one and only Ton Travolta will always dance his way into my heart.
There are many more memorable one-off characters that stick with us through their unique design, personalities, and what they individually bring to us in the episode they star in. Something that no one can deny about Space Dandy is how unbelievably creative it is, especially in the character designs.
Now, I'm not just talking about the character designs for the main characters or the one-off aliens. While those are good, I'm talking about all the no-name aliens that we see constantly throughout the series. All the aliens presented either in the foreground or background are always different and unique. No two aliens are the same unless it's a romantic couple. It truly makes it feel like the anime takes place in a gigantic universe of different planets and alien species.
It also helps that there was an entire team created just for the purpose of creating tons and tons of background alien designs, with no idea being rejected. The worlds and scenarios our characters get involved with are so bizarre and creative. And though the same premise can be found in every episode, no two episodes are the same. Each are different in their own ways, helped by its anthology-like format. Hell, the only episodes that technically connect to each other is the last two. The similarities between all episodes would just be that Danny and his crew are looking for rare aliens while Dr. Gel and Bee try to capture him. Besides that though, it's balls to the wall with what each episode can give you.
One episode can give an honestly really funny and somewhat smart commentary on what happens when every single being in the universe becomes a zombie. One episode could feature a war between aliens who love undies and aliens who love vests, while the next is like a wacky races episode in space. One episode could give a somewhat environmental message, while the next parodies Groundhog Day. You ever wanted to see these characters sing? You've got it. You've also got one with Danny and crew creating a one-hit wonder. Another episode could be a methodical dissection on the meaning of life and death and how we accept both. The next is a fucking disco party. Hell, the second to last episode features Danny on trial for murder. How crazy is that?
Space Dandy is an anime that features something for literally everyone. Its episodes expand many different genres, cliches, and storylines that are shown in both Japanese and American media.
While there are a ton of other anthology-like anime that feature an ongoing plot like Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Blood Blockade Battlefront, and others, none are the same as Space Dandy. While the anime I mentioned before are entertaining and creative while featuring a variety of different types of episodes, they are still confined to the world that we were initially introduced to. Space Dandy doesn't have that crutch. Not only does it take place far into the future, but it's also a show that features tons and tons of galaxies that have lots of different alien species to discover and interact with. There is no end to possibilities that the world of Space Dandy can provide. If you can think of it, it could probably be done in Space Dandy. There are no limits in the anime, which makes it one of the most creative ever seen. Sure, there have been zombie anime, musical anime, and anime where time is always repeating, but only in Space Dandy can you not only find all of that together, but also so much more in its 26 episode run.
Now, the last thing that I want to talk about in this positive section is Space Dandy's fantastic English dub. One of my personal favorite English dubs, actually, especially out of Funimation. But before we get into the voice actors that bring these characters to life in the English version, let's talk about the simul-dubbing, and how Space Dandy completely changed how we consume anime in America. In January 2014, Funimation dubbed the episodes of Space Dandy and aired them on Adult Swim's Toonami programming block a day before the Japanese broadcast. At this point, viewers of anime were used to seeing anime episodes on the same day as those in Japan thanks to streaming sites like Crunchyroll. But this was the first time when people could also watch the English dub of these episodes as well. Not only that, but because of the time differences between Japan and America, Space Dandy became the first time where an anime premiered in another country before Japan. Now, to put things into perspective, people who enjoyed watching the English dub of anime always had to wait at least a year after the anime's first viewing, where companies could release physical copies of anime that would feature both the subtitle version and the new English dub. But now, starting with Space Dandy, we English dub lovers could watch the dub at the same time as the subtitle version. After the simul-dub method gained success thanks to Space Dandy's popular run on Toonami, Funimation announced the simul-dub program in October 2014, which would be exclusive to subscribers on their website. To test this method out more, the company first began with simul-dub versions of Psycho-Pass Season 2 and Laughing Under the Clouds, episodes of which were streamed roughly 3 weeks to 1 month following their original Japanese broadcast. This, and expanding the number of anime that was simul-dubbed in 2015, proved to still be a big success. Funimation would continue their same-day simul-dubbing with anticipated and popular titles like My Hero Academia, Fruits Basket, and Fire Force. Soon enough, other anime streaming companies would also continue this method of simul-dubbing, including Sentai Filmworks and Crunchyroll. Netflix also got into this method as well. While it's still super annoying that Netflix will not air their newly licensed anime on a streaming site in America while it's airing in Japan, you know, unlike what every single other streaming site for anime does, when it does release its actual produced anime, it will be released in all languages. Simul-dubbing also changed how we view anime movies in theaters too. Before, you better be damn lucky that an anime movie might appear in US theaters even for a little, and hopefully it wouldn't just be in a major city, maybe in like a town near you. And it would be a miracle if it had an English dub in theaters as well. But thanks to this idea of simul-dubbing and the overwhelming success of movies like Your Name and the yearly Ghibli Fest, depending on the success of the anime movie in Japan and its American anticipation, you can see an anime movie in theaters almost 3 to 5 months after it's released in Japan, usually with an English dub too. Space Dandy started the concept of simul-dubbing and has changed how we view anime in America forever. Wow, that took longer than I think anybody wanted. Getting back on topic, it also helps that the English dub of Space Dandy is really fucking good. While voice actors like Joel McDonald and J. Michael Tatum do well as recurring characters Meow and Dr. Joe respectively, as well as many others, no one can deny that the best part and the star of the English dub of Space Dandy is Ian Sinclair as the man himself. Ian Sinclair makes this dub
Now, Ian Sinclair before this was known for other roles like Dallas Januad from Bacano, Romano from Italia, and the title character of Toroko. He wasn't a recognizable voice actor working in anime. Voicing Dandy changed all of that. Ian Sinclair becomes Dandy with every single expression the character makes. The way he says lines that would otherwise be very stupid, he makes them hilarious.
Life comes at you fast, just like a raging current. I don't fight it. Going against the flow just means you're swimming in place. One day you're too tired to paddle, and suddenly you drown. Whole thing was pointless, and now you're dead at the end. No, going with the flow is where it's at. And that's the dandy way to live.
You can tell when a voice actor is putting their absolute all into a performance, and Ian Sinclair playing Dandy is one of those instances. After voicing Dandy, Ian Sinclair's popularity would have him cast in many more Funimation dubbing projects like Whis in the Dragon Ball franchise, Brook in One Piece, Zap in Blood Blockade Battlefront, and a recent role that I love him, Ryo in Zara-Zanmai. Ian Sinclair has this certain charm and charisma that he brings to all of his roles that make them entertaining and memorable, and Dandy was the role that started it all. Now, while most of the cast of Space Dandy include regular in-house voice actors that Funimation always uses for their dubs, it's some of the one-off characters that are performed very well by guest voice actors. Johnny Yong Bosch plays a hilarious parody of his usual characters, while Bryce Pattenbrook voices Ukulele Man, who is extremely different from his regular shonen-type characters. Going under a different name at the time, Ashley Birch does a great job singing as Freckles, and the criminally underused Major Attaway as the hip and groovy Ton Travolta, before he was known as being one of the performers to portray the genie in the Broadway version of Aladdin in 2017.
Now, probably the most impressive aspect of the English dub is its dubbing of the songs that I mentioned before. Now, while dubbing insert songs into English was usually frowned upon by fans, seriously, listen to fans of the Melancholia Pottery Suzumiya heavily criticize Wendy Lee's performance in the dub of the insert song God Knows, Funimation would still do it from time to time, like in School Rumble. But both songs in the musical episode and the One Hit Wonders song in the band episode were done in English, and they were fantastic.
These music moments were directed by Brina Palencina, who has a great ear for not only the translation of lyrics, but how to dub them into the animation while keeping true to the characters' voices. Seriously, listen to Ian Sinclair sing!
All is all, just use that as a simple guideline, and we can make the universe really shine, cause everything is everything, nothing is replaceable.
The success of dubbing these songs into English, again, something that most anime fans did not like, led to future dubbings of songs from Funimation like Show by Rock, Zombieland Saga, and Zara-Zanmai.
Alright, I talked about the dub for Space Dandy long enough, but it truly is not only an excellent dub, but an important one. Starting the craze of simul dubbing while breaking boundaries that anime viewers used to not like to hear in the dubs of anime, slowly begin to accept them. Alright, now let's get into the negatives, most of which get resolved in repeated viewings, but are there when I watch the anime for the first time. One is that, well, the first 3 episodes aren't the strongest to start off with. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love the first 2 episodes, though the 3rd episode is legit bad, but as a first viewing, the first episode of Space Dandy confused me, as well as many others.
It was something to watch Toonami Day at night, a weird and confusing anime with unexpected heavy fan service, not that funny jokes, and just a seemingly lack of direction. Then everyone dies at the end. And all across America, I could hear viewers simultaneously say,
What the hell was that?
we didn't know what to think of it. How could we explain anything that just happened? This was the highly anticipated show from the creator of Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. The second episode was a bit better, but not the best. And I already mentioned that the 3rd episode is just straight up bad. However, it wasn't until the zombie episode, the 4th one, where everything just clicked into place. The characters were great, the comedy was on point, as well as the parody, and we finally started to understand what the idea of Space Dandy was. One-off standalone episodes that had a little bit of a similar premise, where it was unknown if any of the characters would be alive or dead by the end. Anything was possible, and suddenly, each week we were excitedly waiting to see what crazy adventure Space Dandy would bring us next.
But those first 3 episodes are not the best of what the anime has to offer. You have to wait till episode 4 to get to the good shit. Another negative on first viewing is that the title character of Danny takes a little bit of warming up to. Don't get me wrong, he's a great character and gets better every time I rewatch the anime, but the first time you watch him, he's kind of the worst. and a little annoying.
He's a lazy asshole who is just obsessed with hot alien chicks and the butts of every female creature in the universe. Ian Sinclair voicing him in the English dub was the character's saving grace at the time. It isn't until episode 21 where me and most viewers finally got Dandy's character, which made us enjoy watching him for the rest of the series and absolutely love him in future viewings. I should also mention that Space Dandy is not for everyone. It won't be loved by most casual viewers of anime or newcomers to this form of animation. It is too weird, too bizarre, and too incredibly out there for a lot of people to get a handle on.
Despite sharing surprisingly a lot of similar qualities with Watanabe's first work, Cowboy Bebop, that anime was a bit more grounded. One of the reasons that Space Dandy wasn't the groundbreaking anime that I think most people working on it expected it to be. So when people tell me that they couldn't get into Space Dandy because of its bizarre and out there nature, I totally understand. It just so happens that those are some of the qualities that I love about the anime. In the end, Space Dandy is one of the most creative and unique anime that I've ever seen, and it's probably one of the smartest too. It has great animation, courtesy of Studio Bones, enjoyable music and entertaining characters, its passion and ambition from its multiple directors and writers, and its English dub being one of the best in anime. People often saying that this is the case where the dub of the anime is better than the original Japanese audio. While it has some problems for initial viewings, like the first 3 episodes not being the best, and Danny as a character himself, Space Dandy is an example of a show that gets better every time I watch it. It's also one where, even though I love how it ended, I would not mind getting more episodes of the anime, but given Watanabe's habit of not continuing his shows after their initial run, that'll probably never happen. But regardless, all of this and more is why Space Dandy is my 9th favorite anime of all time. I'm going to give Space Dandy a critical score of an A- and a personal score of an A. It truly is one of a kind, something that will never be replicated. All the pieces just happen to come together to make a unique and surreal anime. So, thanks for watching my 9th favorite anime of all time, and tune in next time for number 8, and how much of a revolution it was.